Do you have $500 and have been wanting to build a gaming PC, but RAM prices are making us all run for the hills? Well, don't run just yet, because in today's video, I've got an example of, yes, you can build a $500 gaming PC in 2026 in this crazy world and these crazy markets. And it isn't easy. Let's go. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And yes, you heard me right earlier. We are embarking on sharing my journey of this $500 gaming PC, not only to share the journey, but also I want to make sure it serves as a template or a way for you guys to at least copy my approach to doing the same. But before we do that, if you guys end up liking this video, make sure you hit that like button down below. Sending all those right signals to YouTube that you like my content helps me grow as a content creator. And if you ended up liking this video, then you might as well get subscribed to catch more. All right, back to the video. So if you guys happen to be new to the channel, like in my typical fashion, I start every build off with a parts hunt. And yeah, this one was a challenge for sure. The cheapest so far I've gotten it is at $600, and it's a worse PC than, you know, a $500 build I did last year. So let me take some time to do hopefully some magic working, and then come back to you. Either I've done it or this was at least a fun for the exercise type of video. Hopefully not the latter. But as you can see here, I did manage to put together a gaming PC. So let's talk about the first part on the list. First up, let's talk about the CPU. I really wanted to go with the Ryzen 5 5500, being still a relatively modern CPU on the latest SKU produced for AM4. However, going with that CPU was just simply asking too much, and I had to switch gears to save some money. Every single dollar has to be very well planned out and spent, and sometimes you gotta make sacrifices in order to stay, especially within this $500 budget. And a sacrifice as it was, I did have to make a step down to a Ryzen 5 3600, which quite honestly was not much of a sacrifice at all when you compare it to the 5500 I originally intended for. I still have a 6-core 12-threaded processor like the 5500, but actually is a bit of a performance uplift if you consider that the Ryzen 3600 comes with more L3 cache and supports native PCIe Gen 4. Now onto motherboard. This is a bit of a tricky area given the climate of the economy and what we are in, and the fact that AM4 motherboards are starting to age out. However, something like this B550 board from Gigabyte is something I still feel can be picked up on a regular good price, which I did for about $70. So in general, in my opinion, being sticking with the AM4 motherboard platform is the way to go, the GOAT for budget building, and I think it will still be for some time to come. Stick to a B450, a B550 motherboard, and I'd say you're in really good hands as far as saving some money. But onto our next part, RAM. Yeah, I think those theatrics leading into the next part being RAM about sums up where the market is today. And I don't think I need to really explain much more than that. But what I do need to explain is how I got this 2x8 gigabyte kit of DDR4 3000 megatransfers for just $75. Jawa. Now, I'm not sponsored by Jawa by any means, but I'm definitely open for some future opportunities. However, this $75 kit might have been what you would think would be a unique pickup for me, especially considering I did the parts hunt video about 2 months ago. Yeah, I know I've been really slow with content creation. I mean, but do you blame me? This is definitely a rough market to navigate right now. Back to what I did find about 2 months ago when I did the parts hunt video. There was several of these kits going for around the similar prices, but they were going fast. This actually wasn't even the original kit I picked up from Jawa during the parts hunt video. However, though, there still seems to be some very fair price RAM kits on Jawa still today, as I record this video 2 months later. And those prices are unmatched just about anywhere else. And RAM is definitely a bit of a part that you really would have to do some serious hunting with, because it could blow your budget completely out of the water if you let it. So buying new, probably not a great option. Look to probably spend double or more for DDR4 for what I paid for this kit. And DDR5, you could just completely negate that out of any total build whatsoever. It's just not going to be a possibility whatsoever. All right, then moving on to storage and another part that's unfortunately really heavily impacted by the volatile markets we're living in today. And another area where I had to make some kind of sacrifice to stay within budget. What you see here, and I hope you're sitting down, is a 256 gigabyte drive.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So an unfortunate but necessary sacrifice I had to make to stay within budget. Like RAM, SSD prices, like I said, are just, well, they're not just as bad, but they're pretty darn bad. And I want to mention too that SSDs are generally one part I never buy used. My typical minimum though is usually a 1 terabyte drive for a typical budget build. But given today's market, and more especially trying to make a $500 build work, I simply cannot spend more than 20% of my total budget on a 1 terabyte drive. So as I said, sacrifices had to be made. So with that 256 gig drive, yes, we can get Windows installed and maybe put 1 to 2 games probably at most on the system before we're basically pegged out. I would definitely recommend going with more storage. If you can float the extra dollars, that is going to make the biggest impact to the overall specs of this build that I'm templating for you. But for me, obviously, I had to stay within $500, so here we are. Now on to GPU, and typically in normal fashion, GPUs are what break your budget. However, we're living in a bit of a unique time where budget GPUs like this one in this build, the market's actually pretty darn good. And what I mean by that, the mega billion-dollar AI companies have zero interest in GPUs of lower tier like this, which makes the current market for them kind of a niche, good priced market. So yes, a used GPU is a requirement to make a build like this happen, but that is also why the market is so good. These things are really kind of only left out there for gamers, which is a score for us. The uniqueness of what I'm getting at here with this market trend for at least GPUs is consumers are not the ones that are actually causing the shortages. They are trying to buy what they possibly can. And like I said, AI companies aren't interested in old used stuff. So we're kind of living in a rare time where some of the good used things are actually quite a score. And the score that I'm talking about in this system that we have here is a RX 5700 XT. Funny enough, not the original one I found on stream, because it actually sold out before I could even log into eBay and purchase it. And also not my second pick, because that one ended up having problems with its fans. All right, moment of truth. Fans are spinning. Ooh, that didn't sound good. I think that was the GPU. Oh yeah, I can feel it. And that second GPU that I'm talking about, don't let that deter you from buying used. I actually, in my haste of trying to get something, because the first one sold out really fast, I bought the first thing that I saw, and it actually did advertise that the fans were no good. I just didn't see it, and I hit buy. So what I finally ended up with is what you see here now, a 5700 XT from XFX. And quite honestly, I feel it ties into the build aesthetic the best out of any of them. This card though has exactly the same specs as the previous two 5700 XTs that I looked at, but best of all, it can easily be had for about $130 to $140 today on eBay. All right, inching towards the end here with the last two parts that go into this build, and honestly, very drama-free and very well priced. It's almost like something might be contributing to that in the world. But what we'll talk about here first is the case. I had two basic requirements when it came to the case. Be under or well under $100, and two, have some decent aesthetics for resale factors. It's the Phanteks Eclipse G370A. Phanteks being a well-known name for great products in the industry, but also comes with some tempered glass, RGB lights, and to my surprise, even a nifty GPU support bracket that I didn't know it had until I went to building the system. Needless to say, it met my two, I would say, pretty easy requirements when it comes to being a box that holds some computer parts. But on to our last drama-free part, and that being the power supply, which again, I was actually pretty thoroughly impressed with what I found. And like with storage, I never typically recommend buying power supplies used ever. It's just one of those things that you don't need to take a risk on, especially when it comes to a budget build that you don't want to just nuke right from the get-go. That being said, I found a great one, a 650 watt Browns from Roswell, tier C at that, for just 50 bucks. And one last thing I wanted to point out too, just for pure transparency of this video, because that is my aim, to be transparent with you and give you a template to work from. There are some extra flair items in here that I want to quickly talk about, so that way, we've got that water under the bridge. But what I'm getting at, there was some issues during the live stream build. The RGB fans, I thought the case would have come with a controller, which it did not, and the motherboard is a bit on the cheap side, which also doesn't offer me a lot of control, as well as the case did only come with 3 front fans, so I added another exhaust fan from Thermalright, which cost me $7. I also added an RGB controller to control all those fans, because I had no way to do so earlier, for another $7. I also threw in a Wi-Fi card that I got for about $19. My motherboard simply does not have that control built in. I feel like having Wi-Fi really improves on the resale factor. Lastly, just to top things off, because the interior aesthetic of this PC has a lot of blacks and silvers, I added this little heatsink from Amazon that you can get to put over your SSD for about $6 too. So clearly it goes without saying, there is some serious price volatility in the market. RAM and SSDs are just, their prices are just absolutely crushing dreams and hopes of us budget PC builders to actually put together a system. As you can see though, with some serious hunting and some deal pricing considerations and some minor sacrifices, my total out the door cost of this system stayed under $500. Now, yes, that does exclude the flare items, but you don't need those flare items. That was just for resale factor for my own purpose to crush some games at great FPS. And speaking of crushing things, let's crush them benchmarks. Well guys, there you have it. A $500 gaming PC is doable, technically. Yes, you can in 2026, but looks a little bit different than it used to. It used to be a $500 build was a no-brainer. You could easily get the things you want and away you go. Today, you got to make some sacrifices, especially if you're sticking with a $500 budget. If you got a few extra dollars to spend, then make those part upgrades. More specifically, if referencing this build, get better storage. So I'm going to take the high road here and say that budget PC building is not dead. It's just quite a bit different these days. And I, like you, are definitely hoping for things to return to normal, so that way I can continue to do videos like this with a little bit less stress. However though, speaking of things that are not dead, are these two videos right here that show the entire journey of this $500 gaming PC build. Thanks for tuning into this one though, guys. I appreciate your time, and I'll catch you in the next one.